21% of employees are fully engaged, which means there is a huge gap of employees that are seeking something else.
Kevin and Kim, thank you so much for joining me for our podcast. We're excited to have both of you here. We're obviously going to be talking about one of, I think, all of our three favorite subjects, which is the talent wars. And man, are we ever, and I've never seen anything like it in my 35 years of business. And so I really look forward to learning a lot from both of you today and having a great conversation. But let's start with introductions. Kim Wallace, one of the greatest minds in the recruiting and temporary staffing industry, maybe in America. Please tell us about yourself.
Golly, Nick, that's a big setup, so thank you. But I am working for Skilled, and that's SKL''D, which is head of community and client partnerships. So we truly value the communities and people like you guys with the chamber that make a huge difference with the talent and the companies in the area.
Gotcha. And Skilled, tell me, just give me one sentence about Skilled.
Skilled is a workforce solutions on quality positions, like in manufacturing, logistics, and also the skilled trades, which is critically important in today's economy, as we all know, not only here in Gwinnett County, but across the United States.
Okay. Well, Kim, wow, I'm so glad you're here with us. You sound like the right person for this podcast today.
Well, thank you, Nick. With over 25 years in the industry, I think some of the experience has definitely rubbed off, so thank you.
Good. Well, pleasure that you're here today. Kevin Carmichael, introduce yourself, sir.
Thank you. Senior Vice President of Economic Development for Partnership Gwinnett. So Partnership Gwinnett, Nick, is the nonprofit economic development arm of the Gwinnett Chamber of Commerce.
Awesome. Is it a public-private partnership?
It is it's a P3.
Okay, tell us about some of your partners.
So we have many of our investors from the private sector within our skilled trades, our labor industries, and then we also go through all of our utilities and banks and many of the players there in the county and the region. We also work with many elected officials, and in that we have our county support as well, and other nonprofits also join us in support of the organization.
All right, great. Well, it sounds like you should be here too.
That's right.
Okay,
I'm
awesome.
happy to be here.
Kevin, when we talk about war on talent, you mentioned a bunch of public-private partnerships that you have. Who are some of those groups that you are working with on the public sector side?
So we have an opportunity to bring together a talent council within Partnership Gwinnett. And so that really goes into the Gwinnett County public school system. It goes into our technical college system and then our higher ed system here. So some data behind some of those, when we say Gwinnett County Public Schools, and Gwinnett also has the City of Beaufort City School System, but just in GCPS alone, that's 182,000 students. It's the 12th largest public school system in the United States. So having that leadership involved, having a curriculum benchmark that they bring to the table, and then being able to put them at that table and go over to, let's say, Gwinnett Technical College. Gwinnett Tech has over 20,000 enrolled right here in Gwinnett Tech. And so some of their community partners, some of their outward facing, but then also some of their in-house faculty, they are involved in this discussion with us. And then you go to a Georgia Gwinnett College, GGC. Georgia Gwinnett College this semester announced over 12,000 students enrolled. So that benchmark right there of who is at that table. And then it's coming around to speak with those industries and those sectors that are here in Gwinnett, that are here in the region or here in the state. And being able to really match those two together. So we often talk in the talent war, we talk about the talent pipeline. And it's just that visual, right? So all of those students are K through 12, maybe in the front end. And then as we go through the technical college and the higher ed, they're in the pipeline. But at the end of that, it's those businesses standing there looking to catch this talent. And they're wanting to train that up, as Kim knows very well. So they want to come to that as well. They come to those tables. And that could be anybody, Nick. It could be a chief human resource officer. It could be, some of their community affairs programs or some of their external affairs and policy that want to come in and bring that layer. But those are the projects that we're working on in this talent council at Partnership Gwinnett.
I heard Metro Atlanta, if you include Athens, is like the number 3 most students in undergrad in the United States. So pretty incredible talent base.
It is.
Just including Gwinnett and then the big broader number.
The system itself, the university system of Georgia, that's the 6th largest in the United States.
Okay.
So to that network that you're speaking of, we would in our MSA of 29 counties around Metro Atlanta, you would also add Kennesaw State in there as well.
Oh, I always forgot about that. They're like the 2nd or 3rd largest now.
That's right. Big developments over there. So in USG, in the university system, there's 26 public institutions, and I think it's upwards of 380,000 students that are in those 26 public institutions. So to run those numbers of what you were just doing,
no kidding.
that are right here in Gwinnett County out of those numbers.
And I would bet if you took, obviously Georgia State, Kennesaw State, the ones that are right here, but if you took Georgia Southern, University of North Georgia, Delano and Gainesville campus, you took West Georgia, Valdosta, I bet the number 1% or number one place those graduates go, if you chose one location, I bet it's Metro Atlanta. I mean, it's incredible, because what do they say in business? It's location, location, location. And so,
Very
Kim,
true.
what do you think about? I know you from your past staffing life, and you had responsibility at least throughout the Southeast, maybe nationally. I'm not 100% sure, but what do you think about Metro Atlanta as a location, and maybe Gwinnett? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, Metro Atlanta, and of course Gwinnett has, a wide variety of different companies that attract talent. So, compared to other states in the South, they're great other states, but here in the metro area and Gwinnett County, there's such a wide variety, good diverse workforce that, allows companies to actually grow, be able to find the right talent at multiple levels, whether it's a warehouse worker or all the way up to a CEO of an organization. So with the education, like Kevin had already mentioned, makes a huge impact, because you're having that surplus of talent that is already living here, because that's one of the top things that, retains employees. Do they have a good work-life balance? Well, part of that work-life balance is working and living in the general area, not having to travel, and based off of their personal needs. So that is a huge factor for higher retention with the companies that are in the area.
Well, I'm sold. I think I'm going to move and work in Gwinnett County, Metro Atlanta, which I've spent my entire career doing so. So if we could peel back the onion a little bit, what has happened in the I feel like the unemployment rate in Metro Atlanta has been at like under 4 since before COVID. What is happening, at least in this region? Is it all the new jobs that are constantly being created as the number one place to do business? Is I feel like people never stop moving here. So it just seems so interesting to me that people are moving here. We do have new jobs. How do we end up with such a low unemployment rate?
Well, it's a good question. I think, because of the wide variety of different organizations and companies that are in the Gwinnett area or Metro Atlanta area attracts the people. But the unemployment rate definitely, is a factor. I mean, if you want to go all the way back, probably families are not as large as they used to be. So not as many people are, I know my dad was one of 7, whereas most people don't have 7 children anymore. So that gap is happening. But there is still a wide selection of companies that are in the metro area and the Gwinnett County area that attract these talent.
Yeah, good point. Kevin, what are your thoughts?
I would add to that, it's also what we talk about in economic development, the work, play, live. There's in this talent war, there's been a learn that's been added to that. So when we're talking with businesses and we're recruiting or we're retaining and expanding business in Gwinnett, a lot of that has been added to also say learn. But in everything that you said, they want 51 parks and recreation like Gwinnett County can offer, right? I mean, there's 51 parks around this county that sometimes you feel like you're maybe in the North Georgia mountains. You're not right there in Gwinnett. They want the entertainment districts, right? But like Gas South District here and a new Weston Hotel and opportunities to have entertainment and not go very far. So then you go to many of the cities, right? And it's with what they can do around the town centers, and they bring that entertainment district, but also a business component to that. But it's opportunities for families to congregate, and it's in their own community. And so a lot of the young talent, they're looking for those different options as well, besides, just the war on talent of where do we go, or how competitive is an industry. But especially in your skilled labor, it's all across the board. I mean, technology can run a theme across that, but we see anything from a supply chain and logistics industry to a technology and IT solutions to healthcare services and solutions. We have our advanced manufacturing, and then you still have your professional services, so a lot of your headquarters and front office. So in those 5 industry sectors, that's the war on talent. That's where so many of these companies that you're working with are standing there saying, one, we want to do what I said earlier, go to the front of the pipeline and maybe benchmark curriculum or work on that level. But yesterday we needed to hire, so we need that influx as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a big gap as far as where we need to be and where we currently are.
It's interesting. I serve on some national boards, one of which is the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. It's actually international. And every community that's represented on that board, which, again, multiple countries, all over all 3, both the coast and the middle, the U.S., everyone's struggling with the same thing. When I hear people in these places where they're losing population, I don't know how they recover. But they just came out with the new numbers in Metro Atlanta. In Gwinnett last year, grew by 15,000 people. And that's a combination of births and people moving here. So there are states that lost 15,000 people last year, and just this one county gained 15,000 people. And so we at least have, I moved here 31 years ago, and we've basically averaged, I think in those 31 years, about 12 to 15,000 people per year. So I can't imagine if we didn't have that. I don't know what these other places are doing. But how do you, as a firm, how do you attract people? I mean, let's say half of that was births. So let's say, 8,000 people moved here. How do you get their attention?
Well, good question. I think it's a matter of, a lot of companies and, just like us at Skilled is, providing a great opportunity for them. Because what employees are looking for is, of course, part of it is pay and benefits. That is important. But that's not all of it. It's about the culture. It's about where they live. It's about how they're being treated. And is there scalability within companies so that they can be retained and stay with the same organization. So we really work with business partners in the community that offer that, because we want to offer the talent those opportunities to be able to be happy and to be retained, because then that way the company continues to grow and thrive. And not only do they do that, but the people themselves are, because without the people, the business cannot grow, because they're the ones who are making it happen and really growing and building the culture, which is really important. So part of it is really working with business partners, just like what we're talking about, the education institutions, Gwinnett Tech and all the other schools in the area. But it starts, as we know, even way back, pre-K, and also from the families, that it's not all about a 4-year university. It's 4-year university is great for a lot of people. I'm not saying that's not good, but then there's also other options for the technical schools, and the high schools are preparing the students for those opportunities, which in turn helps us to work with those institutions so that we can place, solid talent. But working with the partners and then really providing the opportunities that even while they're with us and until we're placed, letting them have a great experience. Even if we're unable to place them at a career opportunity that they're looking for, we want them to have a great experience. So by doing that, it helps build our reputation and allows us, again, gain those referrals that provides that additional level of quality talent that we're able to place and to help with companies.
So what I thought I heard was you are killing your killing, that's the wrong term. You are providing an incredible experience for your talent, which are the employees that you're recruiting to place at companies, and word of mouth, that great experience, it gets out. And so it's the reputation of Skilled. That's Okay, because I don't know that I've ever seen a skilled ad. I haven't. I don't see it on billboards, but it's word of mouth.
Yes, we get a lot of referrals. And again, by being involved in the community, we're also a best places to work company.
What does that mean?
Well, that's a great thing because, again, for us to attract people, we have to do it ourselves.
Okay.
So we have a great culture and we have a great environment that we help each other, we leverage our strengths, and we do the best that we can for our talent that we place. So we've got to live it and be the same thing that we also try to place with quality companies that are in the Gwinnett County area.
Okay.
I just wanted to add to the scalability because that rings very true over in Partnership Gwinnett when we're talking with many of the large corporate, the large privates, right?
Okay.
They are very interested in that scalability as well and the best place to work. And they want to make, the environments the most compatible for folks. They don't necessarily hate the office, they hate the commute. Right. And so they're combating with that. But they want to get them in the office. They want to collaborate. But then looking at the employee, a lot of what we talk with these businesses on is they want to scale that. They want the longevity and they want to be able to add on those sources. Like if we're in software and IT specifics, they're looking to develop those up, but then allow that scaled employee to take on and become a people manager and start teaching some of the next, but that also is part of this, especially in a region, right, where Gwinnett is very strong in those numbers that we've talked about. But when we're looking around the metro region, it's very fluid. Folks, they're driving for the jobs, right? And that's part of the war at that level. And so I think you made a great point of scaling workforce. It goes across, it could be a large Fortune 500, and it can also play within our skilled laborers where they need the forklift drivers and the certificates and different programs that we can get that aren't necessarily in a 4-year degree.
When you talk about the culture of a company, what I have found is in my career, in the 80s and 90s, when I was coming out of school, getting into my career, there was downsizing all over the place. And it seemed like the 90s and the early 2000s was about like profitability at any cost, and nobody cared about culture. I mean, no one cared. I mean, the way I was raised in the corporate world, no one cared about our opinions. We weren't asked. We weren't. It was definitely nobody. We could have even offered it. They would have gotten laughed at. But I have never seen such a swing into culture. And the things that we would have never said even 10 years ago about, bring your full self to work. I think if I would have said that in 1995, my boss would have looked at me like, go home, I think there's something wrong. But it's just, it really is an amazing thing to see that shift in my career. How are you all doing that? Well, actually, I'm going to have two things. Please tell me about how Skill does it. But I want to ask the other question is, what happens when you're trying to recruit for a company and they're not focused on their culture? Do you end up having to coach them or train them, or do you just move on to another company that actually cares? So I just threw a lot at you, Kim.
Well, I'll answer one of the questions first in regards to companies that maybe we do start to engage with, and we find out that maybe there is opportunity for improvement in their culture. We want to help them. Thank goodness there's many of us at Skilled have the experience of growing companies and then selling companies. But, through that growth, culture stayed the same. So we're able to at least train on what we learned and maybe provide that as a learning opportunity for companies. So we're more than willing to share the information because, again, it's about leveraging the resources in the community. And we're willing to help those companies if they do not have that solid culture of engagement that's needed to be able to retain the talent. So then the second part is how does Skilled do that?
Yeah, exactly.
SKL''D, Skilled, is that, again, we leverage our strengths. I love building community relationships and, on the client side as well. So leveraging my strengths, I'm going to do well, I'm going to be happy. And just like engaging with you guys, that's what I love to do. We have other people that are solid, great recruiters and can relate to those people that are looking for that career opportunity. So leverage their strengths and also empower them for their voice to be heard. Everybody doesn't have all the answers. And so as one company, if you're able to seek that engagement, seek their information, and then be able to put things into action, you've got to get the information first, and if people are willing to share it, and again, that's all in engagement. Many companies do it through surveys. Some people do it through focus groups. Some do it just through the CEO talking to different groups. It doesn't matter how you might do it, but when you gain that information, that you then need to act on it so that they do feel like that their voices are being heard and they are making an impact with the company.
So ask and then react to it.
Exactly.
Yeah, probably the worst thing you can do is just listening to it and not doing anything, not acknowledging it. It's almost worse than just what would probably be better just not to ask if you're
That's
not going to
right.
respond to it. Well, Kevin, you have a really interesting background. I believe you worked at, I mean, it wasn't the Gwinnett Chamber for 12 years. You're finally here.
That's
but
right.
You worked at the Georgia Chamber.
Yes,
You
sir.
worked at University of Georgia.
Yes, go
And-
Dogs.
maybe.
Alum, I can say it. I'm an alum.
And then NCR.
That's correct.
So you have a really interesting background of public, corporate, and nonprofit per se. And so, how do you think? Talk to me about your thoughts about retention. How important is that? Because my thought is, if you had great retention, recruiting wouldn't be a problem.
You're right.
I mean, that's. But just your thoughts. Maybe it's an experience you've had, or what
Sure.
have you observed?
So, two ways to look at that. I think we've talked about some of that corporate side of what's being invested in personal development or opportunity for the retention. But a lot of times too, that's an addition of a skill. It's adding on new opportunities, expansion within a company. But then looking over and hearing and working with the education side, and then also too, I'll add to that now with Partnership Gwinnett, how I mentioned that the county school systems and the educators and some of the leadership within those are at these tables. Something that they're also talking about is we hear all of this discussion and then they say, but in education, we're having to focus on the technical skills, but also the human skills.
Soft skills.
So soft skills, and the new buzzword is now essential skills.
Okay.
So, but yes, soft skills. And so how is that incorporated? And the workforce, the businesses that are at these tables immediately jump to that. Because if they're working a manufacturing floor, they're telling us, we just need persistent showing up on time, right? Getting out of bed every day and getting there, getting to the job, but working with others, being in an environment of a true team collaboration, and also being open to learn new things. So a lot of the employers are saying, that's great, you taught this curriculum or this technical skill, but we really need them more on the essential and the soft skills so that we can teach them what we need. And they need to be open to that. So adaptability, to be flexible, but also to have the reason to ask why and want to learn and continue to educate. So that's pretty interesting also of the education side that's in this retention game, of what they're doing within the school systems or within the curriculum, and then to the workforce side saying, that's great, we need that to check many boxes, but we also need these soft and essential skills at the end of the day.
The retention piece, I know the Gallup 2025 data shows that only 21% of employees are actually fully engaged and happy. So, that's a,
Hold on,
a
say
big
that again.
statistic.
21%.
21% of employees are fully engaged, which means there is a huge gap of employees that are seeking something else. Only 27% of managers are engaged. So again, that wide gap of improved retention is out there, and that's why the talent is so needed in a lot of the geographic areas to be able to attract to the companies.
I'm surprised by that because we have had such a focus since COVID on intentionality about being present with your employees, understanding what and I feel like maybe I'm just circled around companies and leaders that are trying to improve the retention. That's just, it's disappointing to hear. What about skilled? Where do you lie in that? You guys have great retention.
We do. We have 100% retention right
That's
now.
actually, that's right now. I thought I heard that. Yeah, that's
So
great.
we'll take it. 100%.
You're winning, basically.
We
right
are
now.
winning.
That's great.
I think some of the numbers go to that. Like we were crunching numbers earlier, but again, if we're we're talking Gwinnett County, 37,000 businesses in Gwinnett County, 500 international businesses. You have a population over 1 million. So some of that plays to the game as well on this. You're working to retain, but they can also start looking around this region pretty quick on other opportunities. So I think employers are having to really double down on that, bring some different focus, some other opportunities within their retention levels.
You mentioned so many employers right here in Gwinnett. And I think that's very true for the region, especially like the big 5 counties.
Yeah.
But I heard a really interesting stat, really over like the last 20 years. I haven't heard it updated in a little bit because I think COVID just kind of throws things off and people are now back. But that we were the most sticky region for a corporate relo. And one of the reasons why is think of just the other 49 states. You're offered a job in Metro Atlanta, Georgia. We have great climate. We have great. You mentioned the quality of life things.
Right.
Which, you were listing parks, 12,000 acres of park just in Gwinnett County, between the county and the cities.
Yeah.
And but we also have all these other opportunities. So you might move here with a corporate relo, but you also know, hey, if this doesn't work out, or I want to make a change, or if I just want to make a change. Just Gwinnett alone has the 35,000 businesses. That's not the rest of the region.
Yeah.
And so that sounds really cool. But the question is, what's the data? Where it's from moving companies. So think about a moving company. They have the data on who moves, and they have the data if that person moves again. So they've got 20, 30 years, 40 years worth of data. And Atlanta is it's been for decades, is the most stickiest region for a corporate relo. They may move. And they may stay with that company and retire, but they might. But a high likelihood is they're not moving out. That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it
part
is.
of our growth, obviously, because we continue to grow people, and people move. They do move, but we constantly, every single year, grow. The region grows and Gwinnett grows. Guess what county that has led the growth in Atlanta and Georgia for the last 40 years? Just take a guess.
That would be Gwinnett.
Oh my, Kim, you're right.
Right answer. Ring that bell.
Ring the bell. There it is.
Kim. By the way, whenever I do trivia, Gwinnett is typically the answer.
Yeah.
Just want to give you a heads up. Just a heads up there. Kim, if somebody, you guys are, I think your firm is newer.
Yes.
Okay. If someone was trying to reach you, how would that best be able to, they want to place an order for some skilled talent? Should they call you? Is there a website they should refer to? What do you recommend?
There is a website. It's skldjobs.com. So it makes it pretty easy, but also our phone numbers are out there. And if you're a LinkedIn user, we're on LinkedIn and definitely, engaged. But we've all been in the industry for a lot of years. That's why I remember, Nick, when you were in the industry. So we've all been around and certainly have experiences and actually learned a lot through those different time frames. But I definitely would look forward to the opportunity for anybody to reach out or to reach out to me directly.
Great. And where are your offices?
We have the one here in Duluth.
No way. You have a Gwinnett office?
Yes, we have a Gwinnett
incredible.
office on Breckenridge. So that is fantastic. And then we have one in McDonough, Georgia.
Okay, great.
One north side and south side.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you, and thank you for being with us. Kevin, you mentioned listening and getting employers together. Are there any programs, forums, summits that you want to share with the listeners that Partnership Gwinnett might be putting on in the future?
Thank you. So I mentioned the Talent Council. So that Talent Council drives 4 meetings a year. We have a quarterly process with that group. And then from that, every year, about mid-year, say early to mid-summer, we do a workforce forum. And that then opens up to outside, external folks can buy a ticket, come in. But that's really, it's an honest dialogue that we're having at that. And again, all those partners we've talked through, from the school systems to, the universities, the technical colleges, and the businesses and nonprofits, everybody's at that table. We have a working session in the forum. All of that data and all of that conversation, surveys, everything after is collected, carried through the council, and at the end of the year, so October 23rd of this year, we'll be doing a workforce summit. And that summit kind of turns back and looks from fall all the way back to the start of the year on what those developments are. But it's always an annual thing that really produces out the opportunity of coming to the table, learning, but then also learning where to engage, where to be involved. And then I will make a plug for our team. We've got a wonderful team at Partnership Gwinnett. We were just awarded a silver award on our website. So if IEDC was the award. And if you go to Partnership partnershipgwinnett.com. We have a lot of our resources. We have a lot of our data research that we put out for site selectors. That's what the award was on. And so you can pull down that data, you can get those resources, but you'll also find our contact information, and you'll also find Talent Council, Workforce Forum, Workforce Summit. We do about 35 events a year at Partnership Gwinnett, and our attendance is on an annual basis anywhere from 1,800 to 2,000. So we have some great information on that website, contact information, but I'd encourage everybody to go there too.
Great. Well, thank you both for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I think it's a topic that's not that's hot today, and I expect it to be hot and moving forward in the future. As Kim, you said, we're just having less kids.
Part of it.
Yeah, it's part of a very complicated, system. But thank you for both of you being on the front lines of this war, this battle, and I couldn't have picked two better troopers to be with in this battle. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.